So last week we began a two-part series on the 5 basic principles of unity, the 5 foundational principles. I'm calling it Back to Basics. It's first of the year. It's a good time to come back to what we really are about. And if you remember the first 2 principles, and also it's available online. We have a YouTube channel, or you can go to our website and look in the Media Center. You can either, the audio and the video of last week's service is available there. You can also go to the bookstore and pick up a CD if you'd rather do that of last week's service. But the idea that we are a love everybody church is what we talked about. Somebody threw that at us as an insult, but I took it as a challenge. That's what we're really trying to do. We are unity. There is one presence, one life, one source of all that is, and we're part of it. So if we really believe that and practice that, we would love everybody, right? Another thing that we kind of get known for is that we are about positive spirituality. We really want to focus on the positive, the possible. So, have you ever had that experience when maybe it's been raining a lot and your car is really dirty, you get it clean, you go into the store, you go into the restaurant, you come out and a bird has used it for target practice? You ever had that experience? Things like that, it's hard to stay positive in those moments. But I'm going to offer you a spiritual practice the next time that happens. Just pause, take a moment, breathe, and be grateful that cows cannot fly. That's kind of funny, right? Okay. So if you remember, the foundational underpinnings, the philosophical underpinnings of our teaching are the first 2 principles. The first is God is all there is. We are not dualistic. We have a unified understanding of reality. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is our life now. So the first part, that there is only one life. All there is God. That's our first foundational principle. We do not believe in a separate reality of the earthly from the spiritual. We believe the spiritual reality reveals itself everywhere. And truly, most religions will say that God is omnipresent, but they don't really believe it. But we actually believe it, that God is present everywhere, in all conditions, all the time. The second principle is that if this is true, then that must mean that God is present in me as me. And so that second principle, if that is true, then people are inherently good. Now, I did say inherently, because we certainly are at choice, and we see lots of examples where people, they may be inherently good, but they may not be living the goodness of God as their choices and as their life. And I know I have certainly not always lived up to the divine potentiality within me. But those are the first 2 principles we went over. So I've got a little device I'd like us to work with today to help us remember these. So repeat after me if you would. Principle 1, God is. Principle 2, I am. Isn't that easy? God is, I am. So now we're going to launch into the last 3 principles, and this is where rubber begins to hit road. We're going to talk about how these philosophical understandings begin to show up in the way we live our lives, in the way we experience life here on planet Earth, in this human body that we have. So the third principle is, I'm going to read it to you first. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking. There is something called the law of mind action, is the way we express it in unity. There is something in the universe that responds to our thought, and that co-creates our experience of reality. In the book that we've been working with, Ellen Davenport's 5 Basic Principles, The Practical Guide to Spirituality, Ellen Davenport, the author and a unity minister, she says this: we are ever connected to the source of all things. We are extensions of the ultimate creator, and we can tap into the power, wisdom, and guidance of the divine at any time. I am? Oh, no, you're right. I got it wrong. See, it's a hit and miss. That's the thing I'm going to tell you when we're these humans. Let's try it again. God is. I am. I can. That's what we're talking about. I can tap into that creativity, that energy of possibility, and I can direct it in a way that reflects my consciousness in life. My thoughts are creative. If that is so, then why don't I think $1 million check and Rolls Royce and have them instantly appear? And if you can do that, you need to be up here and I need to be out there. But we just said our thoughts are creative, right? That something responds to our thought. Well, here's the fine print. It responds to all of our thought. It responds to the sum total of our thinking, conscious and unconscious. And we pick up unconscious thought from the moment we take a breath. There is a transfer of our family's belief system. It just gets downloaded right in. And our family, we're connected to a larger system called the human race, and the old metaphysicians had this term they called race consciousness. It correlates with Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious. But there is something that we all sort of agree to. And so I've been using this example a lot. There was a time that in race consciousness, it was believed that the earth was flat, correct? It was out there. Made sense? If you're sitting, if you stand anywhere outside of the city in Houston, we're on the tidal plains of North America. There ain't nothing happening except flat. It is flat. And you could easily say the world is flat. That's what it tells me, and it makes sense. Absolutely. It's wrong. It is incorrect. Our world is round. And the same thing happens with the consciousness that we download and the unconscious belief systems is that we live in a place of scarcity and lack. That is out there. We live in a place where you get sick a lot. And there are different beliefs out there. And we get them unconsciously. And so something responds to our thought. If we're going to have a different experience, what do we have to do? We have to change our thought. The phrase is change your thinking, change your life. That's what we teach in Unity, is that our thought is creative, and using this law of mind action, we can recreate our life. Galatians 6:7 says this, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." What this means is that it's always working, and I mean always. In other traditions, it's called the law of karma. That there is something that is always revealing to us that which we are conscious of. Consciousness is cause. And your consciousness is constantly creating your reality. This is what's happening. The first time somebody told me that, I wanted to run screaming from the church that I was in. They said, if you want to know what you're thinking, take a look at your life. Who wants to be that responsible? It's so much easier to be victimized, don't you agree? Let them be responsible. No. And here's the thing. You are creating your experience of reality, but so is Farrellyn. And so is Eddie, and so is Joey, so is Linda. Everyone here and everyone on the planet is also creating with this energy, with their thoughts. And so sometimes my thought bumps into Carolyn's, and that's just the way it is. And I'm not responsible for what she's created with her thought, but here's where my responsibility kicks back in. I am responsible for my experience of it. I've had this conversation twice this week, 2 different conversations, completely unsolicited by me. They just kind of emerged. This belief in the other shoe. Do you know what that is? It's pretty good, but something bad's going to happen. Anybody ever had that feeling? Like, things are good right now, but I can't relax because something bad's going to happen. So let me tell you the history of that phrase. In the turn of the last century, at the end of the 1800s, in New York, there had been this huge wave of immigrants from Europe, poor immigrants, and they built these shabby tenement apartment buildings. They were thin walls, thin floors, and people were stacked on top of each other, and people were working under horrible conditions. The children were working 10, 12 hours a day. Everyone was working. It was really hard, and sleep was hard to come by. And can you imagine that you're sleeping in one of those little tiny tenement apartments in New York City, and you finally got off to sleep, and then all of a sudden from upstairs, boom, the guy upstairs dropped his heavy work boot, and now you're awake, and you can't be asleep. You can't go back to sleep until the other shoe drops. That's what that comes from. And that idea that it's bad out there, now it's good right now, but it's going to get bad again. That belief is out there. And here's what I want. I've done a lot of work on this belief in my own life, and here's where it comes from. Everything here changes. Everything in the world of time and space and form will end. Every form has a beginning, a middle, and an end. That includes your body, that includes your marriage, that includes everything ends in this world. And so we can get attached to the form, and that's where we're afraid of it. Something's going to change. Yes, everything's going to change. But do you know what doesn't change? You. And even though the form may end, that relationship may end, that job may end, all of that, if you bring your consciousness of God's good and life abundant to that new situation, guess what? You get to recreate a new form. And if you're doing your work, if you're continuing to grow and evolve and heal your old thoughts, the new form will more clearly and more perfectly reflect the truth of who you are. Amen? That's what we're about. Principle 3. We are co-creating our reality with God. Something in the universe responds to our thinking. And everyone is using it all the time. All the time. But to use it consciously, to direct it, to co-create with God, you need a tool or two. And that's where principle 4 comes in. You ready? God is, I am, I can, I'm equipped. Yes. And that's where, in unity, we don't create that law of karma or the law of mind action. It's just happening. But what we have done in unity, it created something unique. Unity and Mormonism are the only two unique schools of spirituality that have evolved in America. The only two. Started about the same time in the 19th century. And unity, New Thought, has contributed one spiritual practice to the world, to the library of spiritual practices in the world, and it's called affirmative prayer. That is our gift to the world, this idea that we can know the truth of our connection with God. We can speak the words. The words themselves do not make the prayer work. The words direct our consciousness to the truth. And when our consciousness realizes the truth, we have a demonstration in the world of form. Thought is cause, form is effect. And so the way we do these prayers, it's a prayer of faith. It is a prayer, a positive affirmation. But our founders in unity, they also use something called denial. And it kind of fell out of fashion at some point in metaphysics because it was perceived to be negative. And we don't want to focus anything on the negative, so don't even worry about the denial step. Just go to the affirmation. But what the denial step does for us in our spiritual prayer life is that it clears out the room for our new affirmation. It clears out the place in consciousness. Okay, imagine it like this. Imagine that you have been given an unlimited budget to go buy a new wardrobe. Ladies, settle down. You can go to any store in the Galleria you want and get as much as you want for your new, actually, you have enough to fill your closet. Let's put it that way. It's going to change my metaphor right there on the spot. And so you go to Saks and you go to Neiman's and you buy the most beautiful clothes. They fit you perfectly. You're so excited. And you get them home and you have no place to put them. You missed a step. Your closet is still full of the ill-fitting, worn-out, old ideas. See where I went with that? You see what I did there, right? And this is why we need a denial step to release the belief that the negative condition I've been experiencing is the truth of me. To release the idea that, let's say, for instance, that we have a belief in scarcity and lack, and it's been showing up. My bank account is empty again. I can look at that and deny that it has any power over my truth. Deny that it has any spiritual truth to me at all. I am an abundant child of God. I am not lacking anything. That's a denial step. Now, it's different from the denial in psychology where that ain't happening. No. That's not what I'm talking about. This is a spiritual practice. Let's go to one of our founding teachers. Emily Cady was a medical doctor. She created the Lessons in Truth, first as monthly installments in the Unity magazine. There were 15 of them, I believe. There are several. There are more than 10. I don't have that in front of me right now. But one of the chapters is on denials. And here's what Emily Cady says about that. The first step toward freeing ourselves from our troubles is to get rid of our erroneous beliefs about God and ourselves. Don't skip this step. Then she says, by denial, we mean declaring not to be true a thing that seems to be true. Negative appearances are directly opposed to the teachings of truth. Jesus said, "Judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment," declaring not to be true a thing that seems to be true. The earth is not flat. You are not limited by your physical sickness. You are not lacking in financial good. You are not unlovable. You may have evidence, you may have decades of evidence for all of the negative things in your life, and you may say, "This is just who I am." You are not. And so the first step, in the first tool we're going to offer you in Unity to begin to use this principle of the God creativity that is in you is to deny that anything but that is real. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go, let it go. Sorry, for all those who have kids like Disney movies, just kidding. And then you've made some room in the closet to try on some of these new beliefs. And if you're new here to Unity, it may seem like, I can't do that. Reverend Farrell and I were talking between services. When people show up for her prosperity class, they're like, "This isn't me. This isn't real. I can't do it." God is. I am. I can. I'm equipped. I live it. Before I leave the fourth principle on the spiritual tools, I do want to say that the affirmative prayer, it is my primary spiritual practice. I've been practicing it now for about 24 years. Using this consistently in partnership, I have transformed every condition in my life. I was broke, sick, tired, and drunk when I got here. And thanks to these principles and using the tools given to me and having people that surrounded me in community and love, everything has changed. You can. You can. The fifth principle, I live it. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. Oh, it'd just be so much easier if we could just kind of go, "Oh, I got it. I understand those words. I know what that means." And then experience it. It doesn't work like that. Mary Morrissey says that there is a difference between knowing about something and knowing it. And she teaches us that if you aren't fully demonstrating a spiritual principle in your life, you don't know it. You know about it. You can say the words. In the tradition I grew up in, the Pentecostal and the Methodist tradition, I was taught that there's a head knowledge and a heart knowledge of God's Word. And you can say the words, you can claim the Scriptures up here, but until it goes deeper, you don't experience the reality of it. There's a word I love called embodiment, that it's not just an idea, it has become a part of the fabric of my life. I'm going to read to you this is from Mark Nepo's wonderful daily inspirational guide called The Book of Awakening. I believe we have it in the bookstore, and this is from this week, January 11th. This is the story of a young divinity student who was stricken with polio, and from somewhere deep within him came an unlikely voice calling him to, of all things, dance. So with great difficulty he quit divinity school and began to dance, and slowly and miraculously he not only regained the use of his legs, but went on to become one of the fathers of modern dance. This is the true story of Ted Shawn. It is compelling for us to realize that studying God did not heal him. Embodying God did. The fact of Ted Shawn's miracle shows us that dance, in all its form, is theology lived. This leads us all to the inescapable act of living out what is kept in, of daring to breathe in muscle and bone what we know and feel and believe again and again. Whatever crisis we face, there is this voice of embodiment that speaks beneath our pain ever so quickly, and if we can hear it and believe it, it will show us a way to be reborn. The courage to hear and embody opens us to a startling secret, that the best chance to be whole is to love whatever gets in the way until it ceases to be an obstacle. Mary Morrissey also teaches that our biggest problem is our biggest opportunity. Right now, what is your biggest problem? What is the obstacle that is in the way of you having that abundant life? And I'm here to tell you that is the way that the abundant life is seeking to be revealed in you. Right there. Ted Shawn, he was trying to follow God. He wanted to live life fully. He felt this call to something, so he entered ministerial school, was stricken with polio. And in Nepo's writing, it says he was led from within, but in the other research I found, his doctor told him to learn to dance. So something within the doctor led him. Doesn't matter. That makes no sense. I'm trying to get there, and this thing called illness is in my way. I want to get around the body. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I want to get past that limitation. And so by actually engaging with the limitation and begin to move, as painful and difficult as it must have been, something happened. Some new truth of his being was revealed. Some new calling revealed itself, and dance was changed. Alvin Ailey, Martha Graham, these people were heavily influenced by Ted Shawn's work. The same is true for you. The thing that you think is disqualifying you from your spiritual greatness is the thing that is trying to usher you into it. I told you, it's rubber meets road day. It would be so easy if I could just point you to this book, read this book, and it'll all be perfect. And you'll have no more pain, you'll have no more sadness, no more loss. It'll all just be great. That's not what we teach in Unity. But what we teach you are the tools that if you apply them at every moment in your life, the painful ones and the joyful ones, your life will begin to reflect the possibility of God showing up in you as you have never known before. God is. I am. I can. I'm equipped. I live it. Tomorrow we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was not a Unity minister or a Unity student, although there are some close connections through Howard Thurman, who was one of his teachers, and Howard Thurman has some deep connections with the New Thought movement. Martin Luther King was an exemplar of what it means to live from spiritual principles. Dr. King wrote this: "We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force." That's why you have tomorrow off. Because the man with that consciousness, who was confronted with such ugliness and evil in his world, said, we will not meet evil with evil. We will not meet violence with violence. We will stand with dignity and majesty. And we will meet violence. We will meet, what does it say? Physical force with soul force. President Obama has asked that we take tomorrow as a day of service to honor Dr. King. So I invite you to, even if you haven't had a chance to plan something, just do something for your fellow human beings tomorrow as a way of honoring this amazing man. Next month, we'll be having our celebration of Black History Month here at Unity, and on the last Sunday of the month, the 26th, that's our big culmination of that. We'll have our choir, we'll have our guest conductor, Stephanie Bland, who's been here the last couple of years, and Charles Holt will be joining us, an amazing singer from Los Angeles who was in The Lion King. I have the honor of giving the message that day, and I'm going to be speaking about Dr. King's final speech the night before he was assassinated, Up to the Mountain, where he says, I have been to the mountain. I have seen what is possible. And he said, I may never get there. Something in him knew. I may never get there, but it's there. His work continues through all of us who have taken up this idea of equality and justice. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. You are called to reveal the good of God in a unique and purposeful and unrepeatable, irreplaceable way. You're called to live it, to take these principles and live them. And I will tell you, what you're looking for is not a dollar amount in your bank account. You're not looking for a model of car. That you may think you are, but that is not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is your soul's fulfillment. And I believe you should be free in the area of your prosperity. Mary Morrissey says that we all need to have enough money so we can give our gift to the world and not worry about it. Amen? So I will teach prosperity principles, absolutely, but it is in service to this idea that we are here to give our gift because the world needs us. You are here to give. So I often, in my talks, by just saying, don't give up, because I know some of you are talking to me. I know some of you are struggling mightily right now. I have struggled. I know not everyone is, but those who are struggling today, don't give up. Sometimes the height of spiritual practice and spiritual mastery is to just not quit. That's all you got to do. Don't quit. This Wednesday we had Reverend Arthur Johnson, speak to us. First time he's been coming to our church for a long time, first time that he's spoken here, and it was an amazing talk, Mindonomics. But he talked about the story in the Gospel of Mark where the woman with the issue of blood knew that if she could touch the hem of Jesus' garment, she would be healed. And so she fought through the throngs to touch the hem of his garment, and she was healed. It says in the story that she had had this condition for years, and she had lost everything, paying doctors to try and receive her healing. And Arthur gave us this phrase, and I don't know if he created it or not, but it's wonderful. He said this: when you're down to nothing, God is up to something. It's not your human figuring it outness that's going to usher you into the kingdom of heaven. You have to trust the Spirit of the living God that is revealing itself through you. God is. I am. I can. I'm equipped. I live it. You live it beautifully, imperfectly, fully, wholly, full out. Let's live it together. God bless you.